I was going to say Brené Brown pops into my mind. If any
Mm,
of you have
mm.
heard of her, if not, look
Yep,
her up.
yep.
And she talks about who you're listening to, or who you focused on? Are you focused on the people that are sitting in the cheap seats that have an opinion, or are you focused on the other people that are in the arena with you having a go? So it's not the people that aren't out there doing anything. Their opinions don't matter. It's the people that are out there having a go, doing the hard stuff, challenging themselves, stepping up day after day. They're the opinions that you need to be listening to, or the people that you need to be listening to and getting feedback from them. It's not the people sitting in the cheap seats. I always get tongue twisted when I say that.
Mm,
The
mm.
cheap seats in the grandstands who are just onlookers. When you think about it
Well,
like that, like it's just so empowering.
well, also a lot of people are betraying their insecurities onto you. So it's like, oh my gosh, don't go and do that thing. It's more of an expression of them than it is about you. And again, this whole herd mentality, it's like we don't want you to leave our herd. So as you start to pull away from this particular herd, maybe this negative herd or whatever it might be, they're holding you back. It's like, don't go, don't leave us, right? But I have many sayings, and another one is, may your shoes follow your heart, right? And
Oh, I like that
so,
one.
thank you. Right. Well, my shirt will be coming out shortly, so we'll do a swap, right? So, so it's all around. We go back to point number one, which is when you find the reason that you should be doing something, make sure that your shoes are following that you're walking in that direction.
I think kind of closing the loop on this, some of the reasons why people don't treat it like a business is because they're worried about what other people are thinking. And yet the irony is that people can only think that of you because you're not treating it professionally. You're not treating it with the fullest of intent. And if you don't believe in you, then how is it possible that others can believe in you? When you're going out to seek money partners, even on your very first deal, if you don't believe that you're actually in this full time as a business and going to make the most of it, then why would someone else invest in you? But they need to know, like, and trust you before they give you their money. But they can't do that if you're not giving them, I guess, the full integrity of you going in all in.
Well, the confidence too. And I always get the students to reverse engineer this. It's like, well, put yourself in the shoes of the person who's got the money. Would you give the money to someone who's coming across timid, uncertain, lacking confidence? Of course you wouldn't. You've worked so damn hard to get the money in the first place. So then when we reverse that and we say, okay, you're out there seeking money partners, JV partners, etc., you have to come across sure about yourself, confidence, right? And that's the identity. Assume the identity, right? Assume the identity. Don't wait until you've got that thing and then go, oh, now I'm going to be a successful property developer, because guess what? It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to assume the role, the identity of a successful property developer now, and do the things that successful property developers do. And guess what happens? You become a successful property developer, as
Yeah.
opposed to I'll do it when.
Which segues into our fourth point, which is values and beliefs. Because if you don't believe that you're that successful property developer, then you're not going to take the actions that it takes to be one. And it becomes a self-fulfilling circle that if you believe, then people start to believe in you. And if you don't believe, then of course people aren't going to believe in you. So, limiting beliefs are one of those critical things that slow us down. We talk about, Tony Robbins talks about, we get what we need, we don't get what we want. And the reason we don't get what we want is because too many times we're actually comfortable with what we've already got. And so we don't actually put the effort in to chase it. And so those people who are hungry because they need that outcome, they're in a job that they know there's only 12 months to go, or they've been made redundant, or, those people who have to make it work, they're the ones that inevitably throw everything at it, and they're the ones that get out.
Well, it's commitment versus interest. And I was having a chat doing my live with Luke this morning about this. It's commitment versus interest. There's so many people that are interested in property development. Oh, I'd like to get into property development. Oh, I'd like to create wealth out of property development. But are you truly committed to doing the things that's required to be successful in property development? And I would argue that the majority of people that I come across are not truly committed. And it's about getting committed to doing that thing. And, you know, to take another Tony Robbins story, he talks about when you take the island, you burn the boat. So there's no turning back. You're either going to die on the island or you're going to kill on the island. Either way, you're not getting back in that boat. And so that's the thing. But here's the thing, you don't need to have an urgent situation in your life to create this out, right? So don't wait until you got $10 in the bank to then go, oh, now I better get my stuff together. Or from a health point of view, don't wait until you've gone and had a heart attack to then say, oh, I should probably get a bit fit and healthy now. Like, do it now. Don't wait. You know, get committed now. Find the thing. And again, if you follow the steps that we've gone through, and we've still got more to go, but you start with purpose, you get clear on your goals, you work on your identity, and now we're talking about beliefs. When you follow the steps through, that's what's going to ensure that you're phenomenally successful.
A lot of people have limiting beliefs. I keep cutting you off, Rob.
Yeah, you're so rude, Kylie. It's terrible.
Rude. A lot of people have limiting beliefs and they don't even realize that they have them. And so what is a belief? So a belief is a story that you make up that you believe to be true. So if you have beliefs that aren't serving you, well, why not change that belief? Firstly, you need to become aware that you've got this belief that's not serving you, and then create a new one. So I hear a lot of people saying, I'm not good at feasibilities, I'm not good at numbers. That's a limiting belief that you're telling yourself. So I'm learning how to become better at doing feasibilities. I'm upskilling in learning how to do numbers, those kinds of things. So you need to be able to reframe those beliefs that you have. So if you could believe anything, believe something that's going to serve you and help you to move forward. Some examples of, you go, Tony.
No, I was just saying the thing with that is that the problem with a lot of beliefs, Kylie, is that the majority of this sits in our subconscious mind. So we're not even aware of it. You know, so 90% of the things that we do, we're not even aware that we're doing it, right? And we become aware down the track. And I'll give you an example. So driving to work, you know, so many people drive to work. And how often have you driven to work? You've driven the same way to work for the last 5 years, and you hop in your car and you leave your garage, and all of a sudden you arrive at your work and you go, oh my gosh, like I've just arrived. Like you don't even think about it because you've done it so often. And so that's the same with beliefs. You know, you act in a particular way, something happens, a trigger happens, and you respond or you react in a particular way. And so the key here is around self-awareness. The key is becoming aware that you're acting in a particular way, that you're acting with fear, that you're procrastinating, that you've got doubt, that you're blaming, that you're judging, that you're hating, whatever it might be, about becoming aware of what you're doing. Now, just because you're aware still doesn't mean that you'll be able to be successful, because there's the other A, which is called action. So self-awareness plus action equals transformation or equals change. So you've got to be self-aware, you've got to take action on it. So it's about getting yourself self-aware. And if I could leave people or give people 2 tips on how you can start to become self-aware, it's ask yourself a couple of questions each and every day. First question is, what is it that went well today? What did I do well today? What were the great things that I did today? And there's a whole power in gratitude and happiness, right? But ask yourself that, because if people generally say, Kylie, you and I in our coaching sessions, if we say to people, hey, how you going? We'll get this massive tale of woe. That went wrong, that fell over, that didn't work, boop, 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 boop. But when we ask the question, what went well? Oh, I've got to think about the things that went well. The next question you want to ask yourself is, what can I do differently moving forward? Not what went wrong. Let's not hammer ourselves, because again, that's happened. We can't change it. But what can I do differently? How can I act, respond in a different way moving forward? And you can ask those 2 questions of yourself. You don't need to have a paid coach. You ask them each and every day, each and every night. Ask those 2 questions, and now you're going to start to become aware. And then the next step, as I mentioned, is putting into practice the things that you're becoming aware of.
And that awareness thing is one of those things where sometimes we can catch ourselves having just said something negative, and then we don't know how to back out of it. And that negative space, as you touched on, Tony, it's reinforcing to that subconscious brain. So I'll touch on one that Kylie said a couple of moments ago. So I'm no good at feasibilities. So you hear it come out of your mouth. But when you hear it come out of your mouth, when you say it like that, it comes out like a statement, which then reinforces to your subconscious mind that that is a fact. But if you just add one word to that same statement, if you can catch yourself in that moment, if you can add the one word, and that one word is yet. I'm no good at feasibilities yet. It changes that statement into a question. And as soon as you change it to a question, then your subconscious mind can then open up to the idea that you can then learn how to do feasibilities. And then at that point, once it's aware that it can actually learn it, at that point, it starts to become hungry and curious to say, well, how do I do that? So, you know, if we're going to catch ourselves in the moment, becoming aware, I would say learn that one word, throw that one word at the end of our sentences. That'll help us massively.
Yeah, another saying is be careful what you say to yourself because your mind is listening. You know, thoughts become things, you know, and these aren't sayings that I have made up or any of us have made up. These have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Thoughts become things, right? What you think about, you become, and you want to be so aware of the thoughts that are going on. Consciously, let's take weight loss. Consciously, I think the majority of people know that you need to eat right, move a little bit, drink some water, and get a good night's sleep. I think generally speaking, but yet people don't do it. People don't do it because subconsciously they're not aware of all the things that are going on, right? And these are the limitations that are holding people back. These have come from your childhood. These have come from poor experiences. Kylie, you touched on before about bad experiences in the past, maybe when someone's, you know, lost money or whatever it might be, from your parents, from teachers, from the news. This is where all these beliefs have come from. And in the middle of the word belief is a three-letter word called lie, L-I-E, right? You're making this stuff up. You can make up great beliefs and you can make up rubbish beliefs. The sad fact is we tend to make up rubbish beliefs, and those beliefs tend to be ceilings that we don't crash through, right? And so it's about recognizing what you're doing or not doing and then starting to put some steps in place to change it. And one of the best ways to overcome limiting beliefs is to form empowering beliefs that are the opposite. So take what you just said, Rob, around that whole no good at fesos, you know, opposite of I don't like it is I love it, right? And we go through in the psychology weekend the above the line, below the line. So it's about coming up with the opposites. You know, I don't like speaking to agents. I love speaking to agents. I love talking to agents, right? I love talking to agents because they have all this knowledge and they can help me become an area expert in my particular suburb, right? So you want to start to change and form those empowering beliefs.
Hey guys, I'm conscious of time and we've still got another 3 topics to go, and haven't even taken any questions from our audience. So loving the chat.
Are you suggesting that I'm talking a lot, Rob?
I'm not
totally out of character for me. Kylie, stop nodding.
We spent a lot of time together, Tony, online. I know.
So topic number 4. So our capabilities. So this is where recognizing, I guess, and taking the time to actually do a strengths and weaknesses exercise and go, well, what am I good at? What am I not good at? And how do I actually put a plan in place to actually resolve that? You know, what education should I be seeking? What coaching or mentoring, or how can I actually solve that problem that's actually sitting under the covers, actually stopping me from moving forward?
So I think you need to be strategic about what you need to learn next, what actions you need to implement next. So when we're going through this, you know, with new students, you don't have to learn how to do everything all at once. It's plan it out, map it out. Be strategic about what skill you need to learn next so that you don't become overwhelmed and get stuck. It's all about planning. Over to you, Tony.
Thank you. It's about being resourceful. You know, a lot of people don't do things because they say, I don't know how to do that. Before I ever did my first development, I didn't know how to do that either. You know, and we all do something for the first time once. Right. And so it's about being resourceful. It's about having the drive, the determination, the commitment to go, well, I'm going to figure this out. And who do I need to go to? Right. And in property development, if I think about my journey, I went to a meetup. I went to a meetup. It's like, I'm going to get into property development. I went to a meetup and I spoke to, guess what? Property developers. So it's about being resourceful and having that determination to figure this stuff out. And here's the other thing. No matter what you're trying to achieve, I'll guarantee you that someone's already done it. So respectfully, it's not like you're pioneering something. So find someone who's gone before you, emulate that success, follow the blueprint. They've left breadcrumbs for all of us. Go and follow that, and you're going to be phenomenally successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on it before, the fact that we haven't yet done our first deal. I'd encourage you to look at every single massive property development company out there, whether it be a Lend-Lease or a Meriton or somebody like that. They had to start with deal number one, right? Every single one of them had to start with deal number one. And when you go back in time, it's amazing when you start to look at their history and their feedbacks at how many of them started with a basic reno or a basic 2-lot subdivision or a small little stack one at the back of a house. All those little things that then grow into big things. The biggest challenge that I see when it comes to the education and mentoring side of things is, I think everyone is clear that education and mentoring is a critical path to our success. But what they're not clear on is how to actually choose the right education and the right mentoring. And many, many times we're tricked into a slick salesman at the front of the stage, selling their wares, saying how fantastic their particular strategy is, and not doing any discredit to the capability of the person or the capability of their product. But if it doesn't suit your goal, and if it doesn't suit your purpose, the two very things that we start with, then it won't be good for you. The person who sits right beside you, if it does suit their goals and it does suit their purpose, it'll be fantastic for them. So, it's not the course that's changed. It's the fact that we haven't taken the time to see whether or not it actually fits or aligns with where we're going. And so that's why it's really important to go back to, what is your purpose? What is your goal? And more importantly, what is your strategy in what you're trying to actually execute, and say, is this particular course, is this particular educator the right one to take me towards my goal? So a really basic question that you should be asking yourself is, does this take me towards or away from my goal? And if everything that you look at, whether any problem that arises, any decision that you've got to make, if you ask yourself that question, does it take me closer to or further away from my goal? Then one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to make a conscious, active choice to move towards your goal, or you'll recognize that you don't have a goal, in which case you can go back a step and actually set the goal in the first place.
Absolutely. And then again, it's about start with end in mind. Start with end in mind. The clearer you can be on where you're going, the easier it is to know, am I on or off track? It's just that the majority of people are not clear with this. It's just too fuzzy. They're all over the place and they're doing stuff. And there's a distinct difference between being busy and being productive. A lot of people are busy. I'm doing stuff and I'm flat out. But if you're not doing the things that take you to where you want to get to, then it doesn't matter. I use the analogy of when they shoot a rocket from Earth to the moon. If that trajectory is off by 1%, that rocket misses the moon by 6,709 kilometers, 1% off target. So you can do an enormous amount of activity, but if you're just being busy, then it's never, ever, ever going to take you to where you want to get to. And that's the whole idea of get clear on the goal, start with end in mind, and make sure that you've got this very clear plan between the goal and where you are.
And a constant and never-ending improvement process. So CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. So when you say 1%, if we only recognize that 1% at the end of the journey, it's really hard to change course. But if we are constantly reviewing what it is that we've done, and we do that minor little incremental change at the start, it's such a minor little change can make the massive difference. Tony Robbins talks about that, the 2-degree shift. a golfer's golf swing. If it's 2 degrees off, then it will land, in the bushes. But if it's perfectly sweet on, it'll go straight down the fairway, and that 2 degrees can make a massive difference in our outcomes.
Yep.
And can I add one thing here? That 2 millimeter shift can also be applied internally within us. So when you're just sitting here, you probably know what I'm about to say. I just saw you sit up straighter, Rob. But if you were to make a shift in the way that you're sitting right now and just shift your chest back 2 millimeters, so you're lifting your heart up 2 millimeters, that has a massive difference on the way that you feel. So whilst we can be doing this with actions, it can also be about the way that we're holding our body and the way that we're carrying ourselves. So if you're sitting at your desk and starting to feel like you don't have any energy and starting to feel a little bit flat, just make that 2 millimeter shift. And when you do that, it just opens you up and it feels different. Just a little tip for the moment.
I think it's a wonderful tip. And again, it goes back to the identity. Assume the identity of the person that you want to be, of that property developer. Walk like a property developer, talk like a property developer. So no, terrific points. Wonderful.
Absolutely. So that was number 5. So number 6 is our behaviors, and more importantly, the behaviors where we are taking action towards those goals that we were talking about earlier on. So if we are, and our behaviors of treating, having our identity as a business, and our behaviors of acting out those positive beliefs. So all of those behaviors are critical to actually executing on all the perfect framework that we set up, the foundations that we put forward before us. Our behaviors will actually determine whether or not we actually execute on that.
Absolutely. And here's the thing with that. The majority of people just don't start. And they don't start because they wait for every single thing to be perfect. And then when it's all lined up and it's perfect, now I'm going to take my first step, as opposed to being vulnerable and open to having a go, being prepared to make mistakes, being prepared to fumble and bumble and stumble along. And you touched on before around this whole relentless learning piece. Learn. Mistakes is where the magic happens. You have to make a start. Chinese proverb, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with just one step. You have to make that first step. The other thing around taking action is that, again, using your program, there's an enormous amount of knowledge and information, and it's incredible. It really is. But if you choose not to do anything with all of that, what does it really matter? Right? So it's great knowledge, it's great information, it's really quite deep. But if you do nothing with it, it doesn't really matter. So you've got to take the action.
A lot of people beat themselves up around the action that they haven't taken. I've just jumped in there, Rob. They beat themselves up about again.
Tony set me up for the perfect segue. And
all right,
I love
off
it.
you go.
No, Kylie, I love it. I keep going. I think it's terrific. What you're doing? Go for it. Just dive
I'm mixing
in there.
things up right now.
Yeah, dive in there.
So a lot of people can get really stressed and beat themselves up about the action that they're not taking, and they can sometimes lead into anxiety and all this terrible stuff that they start feeling within themselves. And I think the key to this, and the most self-loving thing that you can do, is actually to be self-disciplined. So it's doing the things that you need to do so that you're not going to feel like crap, so that you don't have a reason to beat yourself up. So follow your plan, do the daily actions that you need to take, exercise, get your endorphins pumping so that you have those feel-good chemicals in your body. Follow your plan. It's keeping your promises to yourself is actually the greatest key to building your confidence. So those people that are lacking confidence generally haven't been keeping promises to themselves. They haven't been taking action. They've been letting themselves down a little bit every single day of the week, over and over and over again, and they start to lose trust within themselves. So when you're self-disciplined and you take action and you keep keeping promises to yourself, you're going to be amazed at how you feel.
Absolutely.
Does that segue still work, Rob?
No, it doesn't. You've completely destroyed it. But either way, let's just rewind. So Tony set me up perfectly for what I'm about to say. But yeah, here we are anyway. So this is a mantra that I live and breathe by. Okay, and I would encourage others to take this on. Okay, so firstly, when we start to look at things, we all have dreams as to how and where we want to go. We wake up with these delusions of grandeur of what it is that we want to do. But when we actually write that down, it becomes a goal. And many of us don't take the time to take that idea, that germination of an idea, and actually write it down as a goal. And so if you don't write it down, it tends to stay as a fantasy, okay? And which means we never do anything that moves towards it or the like, and it just disappears as one of those passing thoughts. If we then take that goal and break it down, that becomes a plan. But if you don't break it down, that goal just becomes a wish. And Tony touched on it before, the number of times where we actually set these New Year's resolutions, January 1st, this is what I'm going to do, but we don't actually put a plan in place to go and execute upon that. And so it just becomes a wish or even a fantasy or a fallacy. But then when we break that plan down and take action on that broken down plan, then it starts to become reality. And unfortunately, if you don't take the action, it just becomes a piece of paper. And so it doesn't matter if you've got a great idea that then turns into a goal. And it doesn't matter if that goal is broken down into a plan, but it does matter if that plan then has action that sits behind it. So even if you've not taken the process of planning out and mapping out your life, like Tony said before, and putting a GPS in, if you are at least taking action, then you're going to be progressing forward. And so my encouragement to everyone is to say, do something towards your goal every day. One thing, one step, one phone call, one email, one something, and you have no choice but to move forward. And it's amazing when you take a step every single day, that when you look back in 6 months' time, how far you've actually come.
Well, it's progression over perfection. That's what it is. We're so in sync, Kylie. It's just making progress, right? Not waiting for things to be perfect, because guess what? They never ever will be. And so the reason that people don't do things is because of fear. Let's go back to where we were. It's because of fear. And it's because my mind, your mind, everyone's mind has one role in life, and that's to keep us safe and survive. And it will avoid dangerous things at all cost. And what we've gone and done is there's two types of fear. There's danger, that is genuine danger. That is, someone is going to about shoot you, or you're going to get run over, or whatever it is. But then there's irrational fear with an I, irrational fear. Speaking to that agent, putting a low offer in, asking that boy or girl out, public speaking. These are all irrational fears. But yet we've gone and conjured up these images in our mind about being dangerous. The mind wants to avoid it. So the way you overcome it is you do it. And you do it once, and then you do the thing. And how often does it happen when you've worked up and you're all anxious about doing something, and you do it, and then you come out the other end and you go, that wasn't so bad after all. And then you go and do it again, and you go and do it again, and you go and do it again. And guess what happens when you keep doing this? Each time you do that, your mind is saying to you, you are not in danger, you are safe. You are safe, you are safe. And you're refining your skills, and your mind saying you're safe. And then you're just off to the races, because you just keep doing the thing over and over and over again. But trust me, at the start, it's going to feel yucky. It's going to be awkward and uncomfortable and horrible. It happens for all of us, for me, for Kylie, for Rob, for all of us, for everybody. But you have to push through that. And the reason you push through that is because the thing down the road is too big. It means too much. You're so committed to it. You're so connected to it. And again, just go through the sequences that we've gone through. So if you're just tuning in now, we're going through a sequence to help get you moving. But you have that something down the road that I've got to get through this thing here in front of me, because that thing down the road is just too big to let go of.
Absolutely. And in the interest of time, we have one more topic. One of the 7 tips, and that is our environment. And I can't remember who the quote actually came from, but Tony, you mentioned it before. Our network equals our net worth, right? So the people that we hang around, the places that we're at, the peers that we hang around, they tend to be the behaviors that we start to enact.
Yeah, I heard a saying recently, which was, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And so it's about, if you aren't happy with where you're at in life, then find new friends. Find friends that can inspire you. You can aspire to be like. They can support you, collaborate with you, contribute to your learning, whatever it might be. Find new friends. And this is not easy. And I've had to do this. We've all had to do this. There are people in your life, and you know who they are, that are holding you back. And in the majority of cases, it's those that are closest to you. And you have to have those conversations. You have to have the tough conversations. Otherwise, you're never going to get to where you want to get to. And so it's about finding new friends. And we talk about the property developer network, right? The community of like-minded property developers. And, 8 years old now, right? Which is amazing, Rob. So a real credit to you and to everyone else who's been involved along the last 8 years. But it's a community of like-minded people. So if you find that your current friends network isn't helping you achieve your property development goal, well, hello, we're over here waiting for you in the property developer network.